Right now in the AFC playoff picture, the sixth seed is up for grabs, and it's coming down currently to two football teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Tennessee Titans. Both teams are 7-5, and if the playoffs started today, in spite of the fact they have the same record, the nod would go to the Pittsburgh Steelers because they have a better record in conference games. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-3 in their conference in the AFC, and the Titans are 5-4. Now, the Titans have 4 games left. They play at Oakland against the Raiders. They play the Texans week 15. Week 16, they play the Saints. And then week 17, they play the Texans again for the second time in 3 weeks. Now, in my opinion, the Texans need to go 2-2 at least in the next 4 games in order to make it into the playoffs. And they have a tough road ahead. Number one, they play the Saints, who are really good. They play at Oakland, which is a tough team, and another team in the playoff hunt. Oakland is 6-6. The Titans are 7-5. That's going to be a hard-fought, really tough game coming up this Sunday. Now, what's really fascinating to me, though, is the narrative that those final 3 games, they play the Texans twice and they play the Saints. Those last 2 weeks, they play against teams that could be resting their starters. Number one is there's a rumor in New Orleans right now that the Saints could rest their starters week 16 instead of week 17, the final game of the year. Now, traditionally in the NFL, you rest your starters, and once you've clinched a playoff spot, you don't play your starters in the final game of the year to rest them, to keep their bodies healthy, and so nothing bad happens. Now, the problem is, though, the argument people make is that when you rest your starters, you get out of sync. You don't play football for 2 weeks, then you go into the next game, and you haven't played together in a while. And so the argument is maybe the Saints should rest their starters week 16 instead of week 17. So the week 17, you can play a game, get all your starters in, you stay in rhythm going into the playoffs. That's possible. So that's an advantage to the Titans if they play the backups for the Saints instead of the starting players for the Saints. Now, I also would point out that even if you're playing the Saints backups, you're still playing against Teddy Bridgewater, who's proven to be a pretty good quarterback. So it's not an easy just walkover win either. But here's a really more fascinating part. If, in fact, the playoffs shake out where the Houston Texans win the AFC South and they're the 3rd seed in the AFC playoff picture, if the Texans are 3rd and the Titans are 6th, what that would mean is that the first week in the wild card round of the playoffs, the Texans and the Titans would play each other week 1, round 1 of the playoffs in Houston. Here's why that's weird. They play each other week 15, week 17, and then they might play each other again the very next week in the first round of the playoffs. So you have to ask yourself, week 17 of the playoffs, and you're the Houston Texans, do you rest your starters against a team in your division, the Tennessee Titans, who are fighting for a playoff spot? Do you rest your starters, or do you play your starters? Because here's what you'll have to deal with. You play the Tennessee Titans, if you're the Texans, if they in fact make the playoffs, then you would play them 3 times in 4 weeks. You want to play that team 3 times in 4 weeks? The Titans right now are hot. They're playing well. They run the ball well. They're good up front. Would you rather play the Tennessee Titans or the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have like their 3rd or 4th string quarterback? I think it's only their 3rd string quarterback, but they're on not a starting quarterback. They're missing a lot of players. Would you rather play the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Tennessee Titans right now? I'll take my chances playing Duck Hodge as the backup quarterback, who's at least the 3rd string quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are the Texans going to rest their starters week 17? I don't think so. I wouldn't do that. And what's even more crazy is just think about this. If it does happen that you play them week 17 and you win, you get into the playoffs, you play the Texans again in the wild card round. That's just wild. How often does that happen? So I think the point of all this is to say that I think the path into the playoffs for the Tennessee Titans is really, really tough. You're going to play against New Orleans, who's a really good football team. They might rest their starters. Even if they do that, that's tough. Then you play the Texans, who are not probably going to rest their starters week 17 because they want to keep you out of the playoffs, so they're going to bring it all they have week 17. Then you're playing the Raiders in Oakland, a really tough place to play, the black hole in Oakland, against a team that's fighting and scratching really hard, trying to stay alive in the playoff picture. There's no guarantee that the Titans make it into the playoffs. Now, personally, I got to say this. I really love what the Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel's done. We'll talk about one of the decisions he made earlier in the year. But But I've really liked him for a long time. A lot of fans of the Titans don't like their head coach. A lot of Titans fans say, we're not a fan, we're not in on him. I don't understand it. I really, really like Mike Vrabel. I think his players love him. There's a video of them celebrating in the locker room after beating the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. And the way the team rallies around their coach is cool to me. And I think Mike Vrabel is a former player. And in the NFL, you're guys who are, you're older men being coached by older men. And there's a different level. It's not like in high school, you look up to your coaches. In the NFL, you don't. It's more peer-to-peer than it is player down or player up, coach down to player. And I think Mike Vrabel gets that, and the way he relates to his players, they really respond to and really like. Now, the Titans made a move that is wild and really, really cool. In week 6, they benched their starting quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Said, we're done. We're moving on. And week 7, they started a new guy, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, a former quarterback. He played for the Miami Dolphins. He was always pretty good, actually. He just was never healthy. He got hurt all the time, and it made him look worse than he was. But here's what's cool. Since benching Marcus Mariota and starting Ryan Tannehill, from week 7 on, which is the first week they started Ryan Tannehill, the Tennessee Titans are 5-1. They've only lost one game with Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback. That's cool. And this Titans team plays really good defense. They run the ball incredibly well with Derrick Henry. And Ryan Tannehill, their quarterback, is playing really safe, really efficient football. He will not make a decision that kills you. He takes care of the ball really well. He understands their team is led by their defense, and they run the ball well. Ryan Tannehill's playing phenomenally right now at quarterback, taking care of the ball, doing his job very well. And it's just interesting to me. If I'm a wild card team, would you rather, if I'm not a wild card team, if I'm a playoff team and not playing in that round, who would I rather play? The Pittsburgh Steelers or the Tennessee Titans? I would much rather play the Steelers and their third-string quarterback than a really talented, rising Tennessee Titans team. I'm not all in on the Titans. I don't know if they make the playoffs. I look at who they play and I go, that's a tough schedule in the next 4 weeks. But I find myself rooting for the Tennessee Titans. I like what they have, and I like their pieces. So if you're keeping track, if you're a Titans fan, these are what the Titans' next 4 games are. The Titans play at the Raiders, they play the Texans, the Saints, and at the Texans again week 17. Now the Steelers' final 4 games are at Arizona. They play the Buffalo Bills, who are a wild card team most likely. They play at the Jets and at the Ravens. The Steelers don't have it easy either. At the Cardinals is tougher than you think. They have a good quarterback, a good coach. They're building something. They're probably going to lose to the Bills, who are a great football team. They play at the Jets, who's, they're spotty, but the Jets at New York against the Jets is tougher than you think if you're Pittsburgh. And you're probably going to win week 17 because my guess is the Ravens would rest their starters week 17, although you never know because that's a team in their division. They might want to knock their team in their division out of the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't know who's going to get the 6th seed in the AFC playoff picture, but I will say this. If I had to pick who is the best team in the hunt in the AFC playoff picture, I would say the Titans are by far the best team that has the opportunity to get that 6th spot in the AFC playoff picture. I'm rooting for the Titans. I love them. I really am a fan of what they've done. Moving away from Marcus Mariota was a gutsy call that has worked out for them. And I really thought the Colts were going to get in, and the Titans proved, hey, they shellacked the Colts last week. They beat them. They proved the Titans are a better team than the Colts. If you're a Titans fan, I'd be excited, but understand the road ahead is hard, but it's achievable. If you're a football fan, especially if you're a Titans fan, really pay attention. There's a really cool storyline with the Titans going on right now where they're fighting hard to make it into the playoffs, and you know what? They just might actually make it. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. And I want to be very clear, open, and transparent. My YouTube channel is monetized. What that means is that some of my videos make money through ad revenue. Now, it's fewer than you think. A lot of my videos get claimed. But in the past, I've received donations from Patreon and PayPal. PayPal.me/Zach Schaumler. Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. And so because I'm making ad revenue, it feels weird to just get donations. I wanted to give something back. I want to give people a reward for supporting me on Patreon. So now you can submit questions. If you give me $1 a month, You can submit questions to a pool of questions on Patreon. I look at all the questions on Patreon. I use my eyeballs. I make a joke about it. And I pick the top couple questions at the end of every single episode, and I read them and answer them on a segment called Ask Zach. Now, that's for people who have money. They want to support me. If you have no money to give, I totally understand. I've been a broke college kid myself. But if you believe in me and if you believe in my dream and you still want to help me, please help me grow by telling your friends about the show. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, maybe a screenshot it. You put it on your Instagram story. Help me grow by telling your friends about the show. My name is Zach Schaumler. Thank you so very much, and have a great day.